That feeling when you think you're boiling quinoa for dinner, but you're actually boiling steel cut oats because you aren't wearing your contacts.
Derp, Sarah. That feeling when you realize a bee has been chilling on your face. So you freak out a little and swat it to the ground, but then you find out later that it's totally good luck to have a bee on your face. And now you feel like a total jerk.
Listen. If bees on faces are good luck, I don't need it. Maybe I'm doomed. Can't have bees on my face, though.
Got some tacos, but they were out of cilantro. What kind of messed up universe do we live in?
Can't deal. Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome to Have Such a Good Day. I don't know if this is a song. Yeah.
Episode 147. Happy May Day, everybody. Or May.
Oh
well,
my
it's actually
gosh.
the month of May. We will
It is
not
the month of
reveal
May.
the day that we
Yeah.
are recording this. But did you dance around a pool with streamers this weekend, Sarah?
I was about to ask you, Heather. I'm like, what is May Day again? It's like a flagpole thing with like streaming. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember doing it as a kid. Like, I remember how fun that
Yeah.
was. And there were like streamers and you'd run around the pool. I don't really remember. It was just like celebrating spring or something. But now it seems mildly
It's
creepy.
a little too, yeah.
It's like
a
Midsommar
little
creepy.
oh, yes, I was about to say that. Which, I mean, as anybody who's listened to the show long enough knows, was my most hated movie of all time.
But
And
also
that's
most
saying
beloved at the
something.
same time in like a weird, contradicting sort of way.
Beloved. I would not call it beloved, but I will say I watched it more than once just because I was like, I need to understand this better. But yeah, no, bad news.
Yeah, bad news
for
bears.
people who love good news.
Well, welcome to the show that is hopefully good news for you. It's the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. And, you know, we're all in this together. I feel like I have to mention that every few weeks or so. Just a friendly reminder that
Just in
we
case you
are...
thought you were on an island. We are too. We're all on the island.
Oh boy, are we?
Still trying to
Figure it
shit
all out.
Oh man.
Sarah, have you been, girlfriend?
I've been good. I actually. So speaking of living on an island, which I often feel like I live on, you know, just because I'm out in the woods, you know, at my little cabin, kind of doing my thing, and I have my routines, and it's all fine and good. But I have it's weird. Last year, 0 weddings to go to. You know, I usually go to a few weddings a year, just people in my general age group are, you know, getting married or remarried or whatever it is. And did not have to do any of that travel really for the past, I guess, couple of years, you know, COVID related in many respects. But two weddings that I'm doing later this year. One is in July, one is in October. So neither are, you know, super close. And I mentioned the July one in the past because it's a good friend getting married in Ohio. And I'm trying to navigate like, okay, you know, when do I fly in? When do I, you know, fly back? Do I like try to like make it a like a vacation for myself? Is that asking too much of myself, etc.? And I still don't really know, but what I have learned, because I did a bunch of research over the weekend, is like, you know, where I was like, okay, let's take this seriously. First of all, the wedding block at the hotel that I expected to stay at is now booked.
Of course.
Of course. You know, and this is entirely my fault because I was dragging my feet. So no issue. Another friend who's also going to the wedding is in the same boat as me. And so we were like, okay, we can like get an Airbnb and, you know, like, I mean, sleep on couch. Like let's just make it work. But we're both sort of dragging our feet on that too. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm not going to the wedding. I will go. I will make it there. If I have to drive, I'll do it. But it's like I'm so out of practice.
Oh,
I'm like,
totally.
I don't even know how to get on a plane. My gosh, like I haven't been on a plane in so long, and I feel like, you know, I'm, you know, looking up all the stuff online as I normally would, and I just like, it's like I can't like click back into that like travel Sarah place
I
that
know.
I'm really good at.
I know it's like riding a bike. I mean, once you get back and do it, obviously there's some elements that are going to feel strange for sure. But I know what you mean, like
Yeah.
in terms of planning. I think, I think we're also somewhat overcompensating, or at least I am. This last trip I went on, which I'll talk about a little later, I may have overbooked it. And I think like I am not totally, it's like I'm rusty. So I'm like fully booking morning, noon, and night. And I
Sure.
didn't
Yeah.
used to do that this bad. And it's funny because the spontaneous moments where there's room for those end up being the most memorable and best parts of the trip, which is kind of funny.
It's true.
You don't
It's
put a lot
true.
of effort into those.
Well, and that's always been the case. I mean, I am definitely like, if I'm like, okay, I'm planning a trip to France. It's like I want every moment booked. And then when you get there, you're like some of that you're happy you did ahead of time, and some of it you're like, now I'm like on a schedule. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah, I mean totally. And then when especially when you're doing meals, one of the problems I had on this trip was I booked this restaurant that was really hard to get into for a 5 o'clock reservation, which is a very early dinner. I realized that,
Early
but I
early bird life.
it was
I'm into
either
it.
that or 9 p.m. And I was just like, I just feel like we could do the 5. We'll have a light lunch. Of course, though, things go a little differently as you go through the day. You have a heavier lunch. You end up having lunch later than you planned. And then you're sitting down at the 5 o'clock reservation looking at the menu and going,
And being like, why are
not
we even
hungry
here?
at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, bites you in the ass.
I mean, first world problems, for sure.
Legit.
But it's a struggle bus.
It is. So, wait, Sarah, when is this wedding? What's the date in July,
Oh,
approximately?
it's the weekend after the 4th of July.
Okay.
Which is so it's like, it's just a weekend. But it does introduce a little complexity just because if you try to go there too early, all the flights are jacked up because of the 4th of July. So you don't want to like fly in on the 5th because that's like when everybody's leaving and it's weird. But I don't want to get there at like last minute because I don't know, like when I fly somewhere and like get settled, I usually need like a buffer day.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
one. Give me a
totally.
buffer day. I need to drink a lot of water. I get puffy on flights. Like I don't I don't like it. I have to like, press my dress or,
Sure.
all the things. So yeah, we'll
Well, it's
figure
funny.
it
I'm
out.
like,
It'll
okay,
be
where's
fine.
where's Ohio in relation to Iowa? Because I will be in Iowa about the same time you're going to be in
Heather,
Ohio.
look at a U.S. map.
Of course.
Good grief. You know what you should do?
Mm-hmm.
Just like to drive to Ohio from Iowa and just like keep me company and then it'll be fine.
Oh, I'm so going to do that. I'm going to surprise you because I know how much you like surprises. I'm going to just pop up. I'm going to be like, hey, Lynn. I'm going to find
Heather
you.
knows that I am not a fan of surprises. It's not that like
Anti-surprise.
it's not that any surprise wouldn't
Sure.
surprise and delight me. I mean, of course, like if someone's like, Sarah, $1 million, I'd be
Yeah.
like, yay,
Sure.
thank you.
It's all
I'm not
relative.
mad. Not mad. But I sometimes get thrown off. I'm
Yeah.
a woman of routine.
Yes, you are.
And I
You
get
definitely
thrown
are.
off a little bit by surprises.
I hear you,
And,
man.
sometimes it's just, you're just like, I appreciate this. And at the same time, like, I'm not having it.
I think it's that it's like a shock when you're not in the mood for the surprise, whatever the surprise is. Let's say it's a surprise party and you're not in the mood to be with a bunch of people. And then it ends up being
Well,
just
you
like
don't
not
expect
a great,
to be.
yeah, exactly.
That's
so
the
maybe you're not
thing.
prepared. And so it's that lack of preparation that makes it feel shitty. But like a pleasant surprise on the other hand, yeah, it could be
No,
nice.
it's so relative. I
It
mean,
is relative.
I've had 2 surprise birthday parties for me thrown in my life. One was when I was like in junior high, where like my dad had taken me out in the morning. I don't know. I don't even remember what we did. Probably looked at like keyboards or something at Macy's, and then came back and like all my friends were like surprise, like as I opened my front door. I told my parents later that day, like, please don't ever do
Ever
that
do that again.
Like it's like I love my friends, but like that was
So what was the
very
second one? I
stressful.
think I was present at the second one.
The second one you were present for, and it was the same thing where I was like, please, just please don't do that to me ever again. I love everyone that was invited.
And they
It
never
was
will.
and it was fun, but like I just
It
it's
caught
just
you
too
off guard.
much.
It really did. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and you kind of feel like you're like, oh, let me like shift gears to make
totally.
sure everyone else is happy right now, and that is just like it's not my jam.
It's not your thing, and that's totally cool. You know, it's funny, the reason why I bring up, I know Ohio and Iowa are far away from each other, but when I
They're not that
first
far away from me.
well, when I first met my boyfriend, you know, he's from Iowa, and I not thinking that he was from Ohio, but I kept accidentally saying Ohio because they kind of have a similar ring to them, and they have all these vowels, and so
We are so California, Heather. Oh my God.
I know,
Just
I know.
throw in the towel.
I know. Oh, I
Just
already
shoot
have.
us.
I've thrown in the towel a long time ago, Sarah. Come on, you know this.
I mean, there was a point in you know, and I mean, I played Carmen San Diego, U.S. edition. Okay, so I know my state capitals. At the same time, I'm like Idaho, Iowa,
Ohio.
Ohio. There's
And
another
here's the
one
thing,
that I'm forgetting.
I'm
where
really
like,
good at
I don't
those.
know.
Those
Yeah.
capitals I'm really good at too. I remember learning those. I loved that. I was good at it. And it's not like like really mistake those two states. It's just like my mouth would say it. Like it was almost like my brain wasn't connected to my mouth and I would say Ohio instead of Iowa. So it's sort of a joke between me and my boyfriend. I don't make the mistake anymore. I mean, years
Well, and
later, but
I would assume if you're from Iowa, you're like Ohio.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because like Ohio people are like they're getting
really
like
different.
East Coast territory, right? Like
Yeah.
not in Iowa.
No, definitely not. But it's interesting because I'll talk more about that trip once we get closer, but I am going to see a mutual friend of ours out in Iowa, of all places, over the years.
I know who it is.
Yeah, she's actually a patron, and her and I have been kind of chatting, and like she's been out there. She had a similar situation, life event that happened to me, and is in Iowa, but she normally lives in Brooklyn, and so we talk a lot about like we commiserate about, you know, the kind of getting thrown into like the country and you're away from the city and the culture and all this stuff. And so we're totally pumped to see each other. But over the years, because it's been many, many, many years since I've seen her. And I think one of the last times I saw her was in New York. And I remember, I think I was wearing some stupid high heels and I was like tripping down her stairs when we were going out to dinner. But we've
Drunk
talked
tard.
total drunk tard. And over the years, we've been like, I wonder when we'll get a drink together. In what city will it be? You know, will it be New York? Will it be San Francisco? Will it be LA? It's going to be Iowa of all places, which I think
I
is
love
so
it.
random.
And you guys are
funny.
gonna like listen to vinyl.
Oh yeah, dude.
And it's
She
gonna
has like
be
this.
so fun.
She has like a legit company now. It used to be a pop up, and now it's like a brick and mortar, like
I know.
record
I mean,
shop. It's amazing.
I follow them on Facebook
Yeah.
or Instagram or whatever it is.
It's
like,
super
yeah.
cool. Yeah, well, I'll
Very
report
cool.
back. I'll take a lot of photos, but yeah, man, whew, yeah, coming back from another, you know, like a 5-day trip, which I think is such a great amount of time to be gone because it's not super quick, it's not super long, but you definitely are happy to come home. You're happy to leave, but you're like, it's refreshing coming home because it feels like it's been, you know, a chunk of time. And I
Totally.
kind of came
Yeah.
back to the beginning of a new month where it's kind of an uptick. Like it's like we don't have to put the heater on really anymore. It's like, you know, it's within 10 degrees warmer. I still wear a hoodie or whatever, but it's not like it was before where I would be wearing 3 different sweaters on top of each other. But,
Yeah.
you know, so this is sort of the season that kicks off from my previous memories of the last 2 years where we do our after dinner walks, which we did last night, our first one. It was the first inaugural 2021 after dinner walk. It was so nice. I bring my glass of wine with me and we do a little tour of the property and
2022.
oh gosh, 2022. You know, oh boy,
Just a small detail.
let me screw my head on straight. Hold on a
I
second.
mean, listen, the only reason I correct you is because I do this every day. I'm like, how old am I? What year
Well,
is
it's so
it?
funny. Remember the last episode we talked about? I was giving you grief about coming to visit me, and you were like, okay, so we're going to do this 2022. And I said, I'll pencil you in. And in my mind, in that moment,
It was
I
next
thought
year.
you meant next year. And I'm like, why would you wait that long, you bitch? Like, I was literally thinking that. I was like, why is she pushing it to like the next year?
Yeah, like she's like making it like really far away
I was like, what?
unnecessarily. Like
Totally.
what did I do? No, I'm like it could be tomorrow.
It could be. It could
It
be.
could be. Well, just, before we kind of move on to, the various things we're going to talk about in the show, I thought I would like, I would say to you, Heather, in, let's call it, just a few short years ago, you and I were neighbors, we obviously hung out in person quite a bit until we both moved to other parts of California.
Yeah.
And, I was always like, I don't know how Heather takes so many phone calls all day. Family, friends, doctor, don't care, whoever, you're like, oh, gotta take this phone call. And I was like, oh my God, why don't you just like avoid it the way that I do? I avoid all phone calls all the time,
I know this about you.
And what's funny is like, and the thing is like, if you call me,
You
and
better fucking pick up.
and I would, because
Yeah.
I'm like, she wants to talk.
Yeah,
you
you do, usually.
there's you wouldn't do it unless there was a reason.
Sure.
My mom calls me, same thing.
Yeah.
I have precious few other friends.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say maybe 3 other friends where if they call me, I not only pick up, but I'm happy to talk to them.
Sure.
Everyone else, I'm like, heads up. I need a heads up. You didn't text me. I'm not answering.
Yeah.
And like a FaceTime, like, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Yeah, no.
So this is just it's just it's some sort of privacy invasion thing
Yeah.
that everyone has their own degrees of that, and I guess mine is a little bit on the higher end. But I my voicemail, if you call me, and this has been my voicemail for like, I don't know, 100 years, I say, hi, sorry, can't take your call. If you'd like to get a hold of me, please hang up and send me a text message. That is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to leave me a voicemail, you can. Beep. And it actually works pretty well.
Yeah.
A lot of people over time have been like, oh yeah, there's like no reason. But I also have friends who just kind of go like, yeah, haha, I get it, Sarah, but like I'm going to leave you a voicemail. And it's actually kind of cute.
Totally.
In a way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know that they understand that I'm just trying to be efficient.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like,
You're not
not
trying to be
hear
a
their
jerk.
voice.
Yeah.
No, certainly not. I'm just like, for anybody who's like, if you're contacting me for something where like you need an answer or I have to do something or there's an action item, like let's just make this easy for everybody. But everybody else, it's like for example, last night I missed the call, but I got a voicemail from somebody that I care about, and I was like, "Aw, I like that voice," Yeah, like
Totally.
that's actually kind of fun, and I was happy to listen to it and respond back.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of voicemails. I'm such a big fan that I never delete them. And so when people try to leave me new voicemails, I can't tell you how many times I get text messages or notes
your
saying your
mailbox is
voicemail's
full.
full. I mean,
Yeah.
part of the problem is that I get these stupid spam messages, from all around the United States, and they stupidly leave a message. So my voicemail gets filled up extremely quickly. But I don't keep all voicemails, but I mean, there are some that still have like the dot next to it where I'm like, I haven't listened to that one, from way back when. And I find it, I find it's never really convenient to listen to them, or like you got to be in the right moment. But I've saved a lot of, especially like ones from my parents. I've saved them so that one day when I'm ready, I can listen to their voices. Because the voice thing is so much different than a text message. I mean, it's so much more vibrant, and
Personal.
so personal. But I'm struggling with the trying to keep up with everybody though, because I think when somebody leaves your life, a lot of new people come into your life. It just seems like that's how it is. At least it's been that way for me. And so I'm finding myself juggling like quite a bit of relationships right now, and I just don't have the capacity to keep up with it all. Like you know what I mean? It's like I I think because it's been a crazy couple years, and I think things will calm down. But I mean, sometimes it is exhausting how many, phone calls you can get through in a day, and how it can be tiring talking about things and
Very much
updating
so.
people
Yeah.
and all that. But I feel you. I do really enjoy a nice voicemail, and I have some friends that do the same thing to this day. They're not big text messages. I'm like, God, I haven't heard from her in a while. What the fuck, And then, and then the next day I'll get like a really nice voicemail, and it's like that's just her way of communicating. She's not doesn't check
Yeah.
in much on text, and yeah, everybody just has their style.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. You mentioned like text messages from loved ones, such as parents or, people who have exited your life, passed away, or for whatever reason, aren't around. I mean, I think about, it would have been so long ago that I would have saved any like voicemail that I got from my dad. I mean, he died in 2004.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had smartphones kind of at that time, and I'm sure there were voicemails, but he wasn't really much of a phone person. In fact, every time I called the house, he'd be like, "Love you so much. Here's your mother."
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
I'm just gonna go in the background and hear about it later, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, that would be something that I would cherish a lot.
Yeah.
If I could figure out how to get that back, because
Yeah.
a lot of it is it's minutia.
It
It's
is.
not important, but later on, it's like what's that play, The Glass Menagerie, where like the kid dies and then looks back on their life and all the minutia of
yeah.
everyday life, and it's just like, oh my gosh, no one living knows how much they love all these people.
Oh yeah,
until
it's
they
like
can't
this
say it
is
anymore.
this is kind of leads into, talking about this experience I had this last weekend celebrating
Yeah.
my mom. And one of the things that I mentioned in my speech was how much I miss talking to her on the phone about Trader Joe's. And, everybody laughed. I mean, there was more to it. But she used to talk about like fun sauces that she'd find at Trader, and me and my sister used to just roll our eyes like, oh, Mom talked about Trader Joe's for 20 minutes, but like I miss it so much. It's like I would do anything to hear her
Yeah.
talk about, prattle on about Trader Joe's. But yeah, so another really wonderful trip, really truly good vibes. And I spent a couple days in San Francisco, ate lots of butter, a lot of buttery things, good Bay Area coffee. Saw friends. I made a Muppet. We went to a Jim Henson exhibit, and you were able to make your own Muppet, and you just like
Oh my
a lot of fun
gosh.
things. Got to see all
That
the
sounds really fun.
all the real Muppets, in their little whatever their little structure was. Obviously, you couldn't touch them, but it was pretty fun to see Cookie Monster and Grover and all those guys. Super fun. But I had that big lunch with my French family. Parlez-vous. We talked about a lot of fun things in French. It was very very wonderful. We drank champagne like the fancy bitches that we are. Lots of just really lovely memories. I was sort of a bit nervous for Saturday. I mean, we were so busy the first, so I was there like Wednesday through Sunday. So I built a trip around, we've been planning this party memorial, if you will, for my mom who passed away last year. And we've been planning it since January. And it was this last weekend. So what I did was since, we were kind of going pretty far south, I thought, let me just plan some other fun things to do before we get down there. So the last part of the trip was the memorial part, which was in Santa Cruz. But, we spent a few days before that just kind of, enjoying life. And it was really nice. We stayed in a hotel in downtown San Francisco and just, ate wonderful things. And it was very fun. Had a lot of spontaneous moments. But when, Saturday was kind of coming up quickly, and
looming.
yeah, it was looming, and I wasn't really nervous about it. I had written down some notes knowing that I was going to stand up and talk because, we had a microphone. My uncle was the MC. We had a whole plan. It was like 2:00. we're gonna, family's gonna go up. I didn't know who else would go up, but I knew I wanted to, obviously. And, so I was kind of like jotting some things down, and I didn't want to get too elaborate, but I kind of wrote down some bullet points, and I wasn't really nervous to stand up there. I knew that I had to be on. I knew it was like this whole time was like more vacation mode, and then I was like, okay, I gotta speak. I want
Yeah.
to speak clearly.
Right.
I don't
You
want to
kind of have a
cry.
job to do.
I had a
Yeah.
job to do, exactly. And so just before the memorial, speaking of Trader Joe's, I popped into Trader Joe's to stock up on some spices that I can't get up here. Mostly umami. They have great umami. And normally I'd have to buy it on Amazon. Anyway, so I run in there real quick, and I'm on the phone, and I feel this like kind of like a tickle like in between my eyes. I have like my sunglasses on my head, and I have my phone on my ear, so there's a lot going on, and I kind of feel this tickle, and it's just like whatever. I felt like it was my hair because I have bangs. And then I'm like, I'm telling you, this tickle was going on for like a couple minutes. Didn't think anything of it, but like it just being my hair in my eyes. And it took me a while to realize that it was a bee. A bee was sitting on the bridge of my nose, like in between my eyes. And I was in Trader Joe's, and I just like, I was a little freaked out. I was just like, oh my God, this thing's been crawling on me for the last, however many minutes. And so I flicked it off my face, fell on the ground, was like, whoa, I cannot believe that thing didn't sting me. And so this was right before I went to the memorial, and my boyfriend sent me this really cool thing. It was sort of a screen grab from the internet, because I was kind of like, God, I hope this is a good omen kind of thing. And he wanted me to know that it was. And so basically, I'll read it to you. It basically said that bees are attracted to like, well, real feminine power, which is a little hokey, and will land where they
Yeah.
feel safe and protected.
It's
And
like,
that,
it's like, okay, Xena, warrior
yeah, I know,
princess.
totally. And I take it with a grain of salt, but I liked the later
Sure,
part.
yeah.
So
it kind of makes you feel better about
yeah,
the
so
whole
it's like
incident.
they say that bees are sensitive to vibrations, and they won't go near chaotic energy, which I probably was kind of chaotic, rushing in there and getting my spices. But if a bee chooses to land on you, they've decided that you're a safe place to land, and that it's supposed to kind of allude to the fact that you are feeling confident, and you are graced with the presence of a bee, so it's like a really positive thing. And it was just like a really cool kind of, I thought it was maybe a bad omen, but it wasn't. And the event ended up being so lovely. And I had never really, I guess, wrapped my head around the idea of, a lot of these memorials are often called celebrations of life. And I guess I never went to one. I never went to a celebration of life as far as I know. I mean, my dad's was, I guess, on some level. But it was such a happy event. I mean, it was the way we planned it. We did it, me and my sister,
Yeah.
my stepdad. And it really is all about like your outlook. And so we knew that my mom would want like a lovely day party with like some live music, hopefully some great weather, with her art, and so we essentially created a day that we thought she would want to attend. And I felt like that was such a good way of looking at it, because I mean, literally, there were so many moments where I would stop, and I mean, it was such beautiful 75-degree weather. I mean, it was really, truly, it felt like you were at a really fun day party. And we had this
Yeah.
video running of all these photographs that we made, and it was exactly a day that she would love. And I had to remind myself that, wait, we're attending, this is a memorial. Like, I saw family members I hadn't seen in 20 years. My best friend came and spoke, and it was just, it was all very like, tears of joy in a lot of ways, as opposed to sadness. And I knew that this is exactly the day that my mom would want. She would want us all to enjoy her life, and praise the life that she had, that she was a wonderful person. And, we celebrated that. So it was truly something that can be so sad and potentially morbid. Wasn't. It was, you
Yeah.
ended it kind of on a high note, and I like that. I like the whole concept. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad. And I get weepy about these things, so I'm not gonna cry.
I know.
But
It's okay.
it just, you know, it's just hard, you know.
It
All
is
this stuff is
hard.
hard. But yeah, I think about this a lot. Like, I remember when my dad died, he didn't, like, never wanted to be buried until he was actually like looking mortality in the face and was like, no, I do,
Okay.
because I want y'all to go to a place where you can visit me.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom and I were like, okay. I mean, it's honestly like we don't even care. Like, whatever you want.
Sure.
You know, that's all we want is what you want. And you know, so that was something that I didn't really deal with until I did, you know, kind of at the very end. But there is a place that I can go and visit him, and it's for me. It's not for him. You know, like, he's no longer of this earth, but you know, and my mom will eventually be next to him, and it's kind of like, it's like, I don't know. I think that we all, you know, before somebody that we love very much either passes or is about to pass, you have a lot of feelings about like what is best for them.
Sure.
You know, and I think in your mom's case, it's like she wanted a fun party.
Yeah.
Like that would have been like her at her happiest.
Yep.
And it's so great that you gave her that.
Yeah, I know. I know. It felt really good. It felt really right. It felt so right. Like this is, I mean, really, it sounds weird to say, oh, we had such a great time at my mom's memorial, but it was exactly
like
what it
that-
should have been.
Yeah, it's like if that's the good energy that you're putting into the world, then you know, then you did her right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And a lot of, I'm getting a lot of notes from people, you know, this was just sort of the concept that we had, you know, let's do it this way. You know, and I like I said, we had this little live trio, you know, little band that was so good. It was like so good, like a stand-up bass and very lively. And, you know, we had this beautiful video that my boyfriend made, that people like sat down and watched, and you know, we had this like taco truck, and it was very festive. It really was
sounds
so
really fun.
her at the core of like who she was as a person. And so, but it's interesting because now it's kind of like, wow, so it's like all this hubbub, you know, there's been so much hubbub, and it's all kind of like over, you know, and it's like the 1st of May.
Yeah.
And it's just like, feels like a new chapter, you know, again, like all these new chapters, all these, like the cycles that we go through. It's fascinating. This is like a new beginning in a way.
And I think you and I are pretty similar in the way that, like, if there's something that has to be addressed, it's like, okay, throw yourself into that, get it done. And unfortunately, when anybody passes away, a lot of that is like busy work.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like what are the things that we need to deal with?
Yep.
And so you kind of go like, I care, but I'm going to defer some of that like feeling of caring
Sure.
until I can like deal with it. And sometimes that's sometime later. And that is also hard.
Exactly. It really goes in waves. I mean, all of it does. Cause you know, when you're busy, and I'm a pretty busy person. I mean, I've got a lot going on every week, and it's makes it actually easier when you are planning a party, or you're in the midst of doing a million things. You know, you tend to stay afloat. You just stay above your darkest thoughts. And you know, so, but it'll be really interesting to see, I don't know how everything sort of shakes out, you know, if we stay up here in this Pacific Northwest location, like what we end up doing. I mean, the world is our oyster in a lot of ways. So,
and that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool.
it can
to
be
feel like
exciting.
there are options.
Yeah.
You know, like you never don't have options. We all have options. Well, I mean, it depends on, you know,
It's relative,
your
isn't it?
situation. But I like to think that we all, you know, have options.
Yes.
Speaking of options, sometimes once a week at minimum, I take my dog to the beach. And I don't live far from the beach. Talked about this a million times before. It's, you know, 25 minute, I guess, if I'm kind of cruising along, you know, with my coffee in the morning. And I always take Otis in the morning because nobody's ever there in the morning. So, you know, some like places that don't really allow dogs off leash beach, they don't care. They're either not there or they kind of just, turn a blind eye. So we were out there this morning, and it's funny because when I walk with my dog, which is often every day, I'm like, okay, let's put on a podcast, something I want to listen to anyway. And then like, if the podcast is like 90 minutes, I'm like, yes, okay, I'm going to be walking for 90 minutes, like, and I'm like happy about that. I do not do that at the beach. There's something about it where I'm like, I don't want to listen to anything. All I want to hear is waves and quiet. And it is the most meditative, you know how it is.
Oh
Heather.
yeah,
I mean,
we
you
live on the beach
as well. Yeah, like I mean, it just like if someone was like, "Please listen to this podcast right now," I'd be like, "Can I please not do that?" I really don't want to do that.
I
at
beg
the beach.
you, don't make me
I'll
listen.
do it in the car on my way home, kind of thing. Yeah, but we're recording this on a Monday, and Mondays are sometimes like not my favorite day, just because I'm
Same.
staring down a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
that I got to do. And maybe I could have done over the weekend, but I didn't, just ate burritos and napped instead. And, this Monday was not like a particularly bad Monday, but I woke up in the morning and I was like, all right, we're getting in the car. We're going to the beach. Like we need this. We need to just like breathe salt air and pee on the sand. And that's what we're doing. And it was so great.
I
It
assume
really
you're
was,
referring
like-
to Otis the dog.
Yes, there's actually a perfectly fine porta potty that I use when I'm at the parking lot at this particular beach. But I'm definitely not peeing on the sand. I mean, unless it was an emergency. Has happened before, but not recently. But just like I don't know. It's like it's hard to explain how happy. And I know there are people in the audience who kind of go like, "Oh, I love the beach. I miss the beach," or I don't live near a beach, and so I'm certainly not trying to like pile on like, "Oh, you should live near a beach." Like you can live near wherever gives you like serenity and peace of mind. For me, it's the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be having the worst day of my life. And if I drive out there and just like walk around or maybe run,
Sure.
do a
some
little jog,
endorphins.
whatever. Yeah, like throw the ball for my dog for a few minutes. Like I am so much better. And I truly believe it's the fresh air,
Oh, yeah.
something about that salty air. And I just like, I come down off my mountain and then I'm okay.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, nature heals. I think we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah,
But yeah,
very much
when I
so.
feel when I feel that way too. I mean, sometimes I kind of can't leave the house for very long at certain days, on Mondays in particular. But yeah, I'll just look out the window at the ocean and watch the birds kind of flying around and the wind, blow. And yeah, it's like everything's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. And yeah, it's, you gotta kind of ride those waves and
Yeah.
no pun intended. But I hear you, man. I mean, I need to probably, which is one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to getting a dog, is because it will force me to go outside more. It's not that I'm definitely not a shut-in. I go outside a lot, but I like on mornings when I'm really slammed, I'm just like busy. And I'm like, oh, I don't have 5 minutes. But you do. You got 5 minutes. You can carve
You
out
do.
5 minutes to
Yeah.
take your dog for a walk, right? That's because you have to. And I know it'll
Yeah.
force me to go to the beach more, run around with my dog. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think I mean, believe me, I am over the last 3 years a person who was like, oh my gosh, I got a big dog. What did I do? This was a terrible idea. I can't fit this into my life to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna feel like a little put out about this, but I'm gonna fit this into my life. And now I'm like,
You can't even
why
imagine.
did I ever? Yeah, like why did I ever not want this?
Isn't it funny
It
how that
makes me
happens?
feel good.
Yeah.
When Otis the dog goes into the car in the morning and like I don't say the BEACH word
Mm-hmm.
at first, he's like, oh, I don't know, we could be going anywhere, and like maybe we're going to Safeway or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the coffee shop, and then it's like as we get closer and closer to like beach territory,
He gets
like,
so excited.
oh my gosh, he's so excited, and I'm excited, and it really does like Heather, I would not be going to the beach once a week, just me alone, even though I love to jog. Like
Yeah.
I could jog much closer places around here. And it would just be easier.
Yep.
But like it kind of like tests your limits of like, okay, do I really have time for this? And then you realize I do.
Yeah,
because
totally.
I care.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I actually had a little bit of a breakthrough over this trip with, we've been talking about this on the show, but it's been tough to pull the trigger on the dog thing because we already have a dog, Frank the dog, and this is my boyfriend's dog that he's had for like coming on like 15 years now. So he's getting to be an old man, but Chihuahua Terriers can live, till like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and I want him to live forever. I mean, I want Frank the dog to be with us forever. But we had a nice conversation about, the situation that like, I'm not going to wait a couple years and that, it could be like a really good thing for Frank. We don't know that yet. And I won't be hasty. We'll make sure that it's right. There will be a dog that comes along. It's not going to happen in the next 4 months because we are traveling. I'm going to wait until, and then of course there's going to be another trip and then another trip, and it's never going to be convenient. And but anyway, I think we broke some ground, and I continue to fantasize about what are my top 3 choices for a dog, and I'm really excited. It'll be a good day, and know that dog will come to me, and it'll all everything will make sense. It'll all come together. So,
Well, as you know, I am pro boxer when it comes to dogs. Heather, I know you have your other, breed specific choices, but just saying.
boxers are very cute. I love boxers.
Just saying.
And
Oh,
it's
gotta love.
it's
Little
really
underbite.
it's really funny because I do love a lot of dogs, so it is going to be hard to narrow it down. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to start looking at dogs, and I'm going to fall in
Yeah.
love with one that I might not think I would have in the beginning. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting
Absolutely.
process. I'm not planning on going to like a breeder and getting I would like to get a mutt of some kind. I want to save a dog. That's important
Well,
to me.
there are
So.
plenty of them out there, and I mean, this is also a story I've told, but not recently. I mean, when I adopted Otis, who was a mutt, he's a boxer Great Pyrenees. I mean, cutest dog you've ever seen, but I mean, just somewhat of an unusual combination. I was at a rescue center to adopt a German Shepherd named
I
Matilda.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
you
like,
wanted a German Shepherd.
well, I wanted her. Like I thought I wanted her.
Yeah.
I looked her up online and was like, "Oh, what a cutie. Let's go see her."
Mm-hmm.
And while I was there, I was just like, "Well, I mean, let's hang out with, a couple other dogs because
Mm-hmm.
I made the trip and everything, because it was like at like a pet store, like a Saturday event type thing." And, after I saw Otis, I was like, "It's over." I didn't even know I wanted him.
Yeah,
And
totally.
now I can't imagine
Yeah.
like having any other dog.
Yeah, totally. I know it's funny how that kind of stuff just falls into place. And you were,
Yeah.
and when you first got him, it was really hard. It was such an adaptation, and you
It was
you pushed forward.
it was life disruption.
Yeah, for sure.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I adopted, and now I wouldn't want it the other way.
No.
In fact, even when like, I don't know, I mean, luckily I live near my mom, and so she'll take him for an afternoon, all the time if, I'm doing something where, dogs aren't appropriate. And it's like, as soon as I drop him off, it's like, "Thanks, Mom, see you later." And then as I'm driving, I'm just like, I miss him.
Totally.
It's so weird.
It is weird.
It's like how people talk about their children, where you're like, do you really miss them that much? God, like, don't you just want like a day by yourself? It's like, yes and no.
Yeah.
Also, because you just get so used to
You
it.
do, totally. It's so true. We're very highly adaptable creatures. And yeah, and apologies if we repeat ourselves too much. Repeato girls, we are sometimes. And yeah, let us know if we're like talking in circles all of these
Well,
episodes.
somebody could also be a new patron.
This is
Heather,
true.
And they
This is
haven't heard all
true.
the stories before.
You're right. This is true.
The best stories are those worth Retelling.
This is true. So, Sarah, as we talk about almost every day after we, share our Wordle scores, we always talk about how much happens in a day. Just all the things. Every single day is packed with stuff, with plans, with our routines. And like I said, I went on this little trip and I kind of, I packed in a lot of activities, took a lot of photographs and, made a lot of memories. And normally I'm a pretty, I don't know, I feel like I have a history of being on social media. And I think back in the day when social media first came into our lives, I was kind of an early adopter and I always loved the old Instagram. I always liked to express myself with a photo and hopefully a funny tagline or a thoughtful tagline. And I really do notice my online social activity has waned a bit over the years. And I know yours has too, Sarah. And I just used to post a lot more. It's just sort of a thing that you get trained to do because everyone is sharing. You feel like you should share in your own way and you're part of a cultural movement. It can be fun and satisfying, blah, blah, blah. But, social media has changed a lot in the last, it's changed. It has to change. Everything has to evolve. And so I'm on this trip. In fact, my boyfriend got this cool new kind of like refurbished Polaroid camera that is old school looking. It's really, really a cool piece of machinery. And we were messing around with that. So we have all these fun photographs. And I was like, man, I was like, I have friends being like, how was the weekend? How was the trip? And I get, sometimes people are like, well, I haven't seen anything on Instagram, like, posted anything. How did it go? What have you been up to? And I'm like, I feel like every time I'm like, I should post something. I've got these great photos. And then I'm like, either I'm just been busy. And then when I'm not busy, I just want to close my eyes or I'm talking to someone and I can't be on my phone or whatever. So it's just whatever reason it is. It's just, I've gotten sort of out of the habit. And there's some things about it that do sort of rub me a little wrong these days. And we've talked about this before. And I don't love the pressure too of nowadays. It's a lot more of like branding yourself, promoting yourself, like hustling to stay relevant. It feels confining and exhausting when originally it was a lot more just fun, fun to share a cool picture or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so my point is that I have all these great shots and I will probably eventually make a meticulous slideshow and we went to this arcade and played air hockey and did all these really fun visual moments, right?
I mean, here, like, dumb question,
Yeah.
Heather, but like, why is that fun night something that you feel compelled to share with anybody? You had it.
Exactly. And that's kind of what my point. It's not that I totally feel that way. It's like because we have existed.
It's other people's behaviors.
Yeah, and it's like
where you start to feel like, oh, I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I'm supposed
share
exactly
this.
because I know a lot of people who I'm amazed at people. I have some friends who post literally like every minute, like or so. It's like a play-by-play kind of like, how do their fingers move that fast? And to me, it seems exhausting. I'm just like,
Sure,
I don't even know
yeah.
how you do it. Like that, I can't. That's not my style. And so I feel like in a way, it's like this weird thing. I got home yesterday and I'm like, oh, what a wonderful week, And sure, you can say that to people. Yeah, I had a great time. And in a way, it's like if the tree falls in the forest, if you didn't hear it, did it really fall? Of course, it existed with
Yeah.
you because it was what you did and you have the memories. But it's like, did it really exist? Feels almost like it didn't exist unless I make a post of it. So there's a marker in time
Yeah.
and like a marker online. And it's an interesting feeling. And I wonder if any of you all feel this way out there. I don't know how prolific some of you I follow on Instagram. I don't know, like I said, I'm not super prolific, so I probably miss a lot of your photographs, but it's also kind of fun to keep it to yourself. There's something really precious
Yeah.
about keeping all of that to yourself. And I'd just be really curious to hear how you guys feel about this. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com. And Sarah, how do you feel about this? This sort of feeling of like, did it exist?
Well, as somebody who's been, obviously prolific online and, social media and, even pre-social media, it was like, this was my whole thing. I really leaned into that a lot. And there are certain things like even I don't know if you go to saralane.com, I've stripped pretty much everything out, keep it simple. Here's what I do for work. Here's how to email me, period. But I have in the past like overshared so much of my life.
Yeah.
And like I don't even like give myself I give myself a pass for that. It's
Sure.
like lots of people it still do to this day, and we're all trying to navigate life, but like that is not what I'm interested in doing now.
Yeah.
Some people know everything about me. Well, nobody really knows everything about me, but like, the people who are closest to me
Yeah.
know me very well. And everybody else, I'm like, I don't get that. I mean, there are certain things about, again, social media, and like I'm being slightly unfair because I don't know them, but like the person who's, every lunch, every, baby photo, everything's perfect. Oh, flowers in the background.
Yep.
Oh, look at that nice sunset, and I just kind of go like, nobody's life is like this. So like whatever you're doing right now, I feel like what I'm getting back is like, you may not be all that happy as a person.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly fair because I don't always know. But
Yeah.
like there's so much of that going on
There is.
that I find it exhausting.
It is exhausting. I think that's part of it is just it's not that I don't want to share. It's not about that. It's more like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is exhausting. Anyway, email us. We want to hear what you have to say. We care about your
do.
thoughts and your feelings. So
We sure do.
let's chat.
Yes, let's chat. Speaking of chatting, real quick, we did get a new patron. That patron, actually, we already had Henry as a patron, but Henry upped their pledge. Thank you so
Henry.
much. Henry
Is
thank
the
you so
man.
much.
Thank you.
We could not thank you more. Patreon.com/have such a good day. Write it out is where you can find out more about how to directly support us, because we want to be directly supported by our patrons. And we did get a couple real nice emails. So I'll read the first one, Heather. You can read the second one.
Sure.
First one comes from Chase. Chase says, just wanted to say I really enjoy the show and I listen to it when I'm coding or just relaxing. One day I'll be able to sign up for the Patreon. Keep making great content. That is so heartwarming. Yeah.
I was talking to my boyfriend the other day about he can't listen to voices like music or a podcast when he works because it's
I can't either.
too distracting. But I'm curious about the coding because I guess that's a little different. I don't know what exactly you're coding, Chase, but I love that you find it relaxing. You listen to it while relaxing, and that's very cool.
It's very cool. I've worked with enough engineers to know that there are many ways to get zen when you kind of have to be like in that mode.
Yeah.
And like that mode is just like hardcore like numbers.
Oh yeah, totally.
Basically. And yeah, so Chase, thanks for bringing us along for the
Yeah,
ride.
and thanks
Appreciate it.
for reaching out. And we got a
Yeah.
note from Jake, and this is referring to our last episode. And it was the episode that I was talking about sort of, do I become a director or do I just enjoy listening to director commentary and watching movies and deconstructing them? So he writes, I totally get where you're coming from, loving the idea of being a director versus the practice of it. I buy a lot of movies specifically for the special features, just to know more about the films I love to watch. Commentaries are especially engrossing for me. Whenever a director is giving their commentary on the film they made, I listen to every word like it's going to be on a school test. I don't think I could be a director with all that is asked of a director. I just find it too intimidating. I much prefer to sit back and enjoy the final cut rather than the process of getting there. And I imagine the director is the first person on set and the last to leave. Totally true. And on a different note, the person I would love to sit down and chat with at dinner would most definitely be Kurt Russell. He thinks he'd have great stories, which I totally agree. He'd be on the short list for me too. And his last thought is he saw The Northman and he said it was really good. And this is the movie I was referring to in relation to the director interview that I was listening to, the Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch and some of my other favorite movies.
Oh, right.
But I'm actually, it's funny, Jake, I'm so jealous that you saw it. I was going to see it before we left, but it was really hectic. We just didn't have time. And then when we were down in the Bay Area, there was a theater not that far from us, and it was playing The Northman. I'm like, let's try to go see it when we're here. But of course, not enough time. We're only gone about a week. We come back up here and it's already out of the theater. So it's not even here now. So I'm really bummed that I was hoping we could see it this weekend. But hopefully it'll be on, I don't know, some platform, and we'll just watch it at home. But yeah, thanks for writing in, Jake. I always enjoy your notes. You have a lot of really great perspective, especially on the film stuff. So keep them coming.
Please do. Yeah. Chase, Jake, and everybody who emails us. I mean, we get, we don't always put this on the show, but like we get nice emails from people all the time saying, hey, I really like your show. And we kind of go like, oh, well, that's cool. But like, we're not like gonna read all of those because it sounds a little self-congratulatory, right?
It does.
But you know, we know that we're a small yet proud village of a show, and you know, we're gonna keep doing it as long as people want to keep listening to it. This is Heather and I's, you know, one of the best hours of our week.
It really is.
Thanks,
it's a labor of love.
Thanks to everybody. Yeah, very much so. You know, I mean, sure, there's work involved, but this is, you know,
it's
work
fun
can
work.
be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about as fun as it gets, and this is also, you know, we're friends and we don't see each other in person like ever.
It's a great way to catch up too. We're a couple of lucky gals, Sarah Lane, you and me.
We really
couple
are.
Of little lucky gals.
Note to all: if you miss somebody, start a podcast with them, and then you'll see them every week.
Exactly.
Or more, depending on how you want to structure the show. But listen, we're gonna go ahead and bounce out of here. Episode 147 of Have Such a Good Day is in Le Can, and we'll be doing it all again next week. But until then, we hope you all have the best week. And I will remain Sarah.
And I will remain Heather. Have such a good day.
Bye.